I'm going to walk through the difference between visualizing data with time series versus regression plots when you want to compare two water quality parameters. So this data set has turbidity and total phosphorus for the first day of every month in the 2014 water year. And so to make a time series plot, I'm going to insert an XY, and for time series you want time on the x-axis, so I'm going to select data, add a series, and I'm going to do turbidity first with, again, the date on the x-axis and turbidity on the y, and then I'm going to add a second series, and I'm going to do total phosphorus, and that's going to be, again, date for the x and total phosphorus for the y. And that doesn't look very good because the total phosphorus numbers are so much less than turbidity, so I can right click on that series and format the data series. I can also do that by clicking on layout and selecting total phosphorus. If you get a lot of things on your plot, it's easier sometimes to select what you want to that way. And I'm going to change total phosphorus to a secondary axis. So now it's over here on the right. And so I've got turbidity on the left, or the primary y-axis, and total phosphorus on the right or secondary vertical axis, and date down here. I'm going to clean that up by always labeling both of my axes with the parameter and the units. And down here I probably don't need the word date because it's pretty obvious from the format, but I'll leave it there for now. And I've got my legend here that tells me what my two plots, my two symbols are. And I've added a line for turbidity. Be careful when you add a line, because while it's helpful to visualize what the data pattern is doing, it also implies that visually implies that there is a straight line between these 2 points, and there most certainly is not. The turbidity changed a whole bunch between those 2 points, but because this pattern does seem to be consistent, in this case for visualization it's okay, but be cautious with adding alignment in between scatter points. So we can see that there's some relationship between total phosphorus and turbidity. And now let's think about viewing this relationship with a regression plot in a slightly more quantitative way. We can see the relationship qualitatively here, which is very nice, but now let's insert a second XY scatter, and for a regression plot between turbidity versus total phos, we're going to put, in this case I'll put turbidity on the x-axis and total phos on the y-axis. And that gives me this regression. So I can see that those very high values were high for both turbidity and for total phosphorus. And I'm going to, again, clean this up a little bit. So add labels to the axes and a meaningful title. And then I'm going to right-click on there and add a trend line. I'm going to leave it linear and display the r-squared. I could also display the equation. So this turbidity to total phosphorus relationship has an r-squared of 0.88. 1 is perfect, and so there's a meaningful relationship between total phosphorus and turbidity. So these are two ways of visualizing the same data, and with the time series you get more of a qualitative assessment, but there's a lot of information there that is lost in the regression, but the regression is a more quantitative assessment of that relationship between the two parameters. So the pair of these plots together, very useful.